Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Varon Chiri blazer. Varon Chiri are a new micro brand from Korea. On Tuesday the 22nd of November they will be launching their Kickstarter campaign for this watch. The blazer will be available with a launch price of $420 in 5 dial colour options: black, navy, white, green and ice mint respectively. This is the ice mint version. Now, 2 of those dial colour options will be exclusive to their Kickstarter campaign, the green version and the ice mint respectively. In the meantime, you can view the 5 dial colour options on their website, varonchiri.com. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in a solid rosewood watch box, which is protected in shipping by this black cardboard outer box. One removes the lid, and the rosewood watch box is protected in shipping by this dust bag, and that prevents the high gloss lacquered finish from being scuffed or scratched, so very good attention to detail. This is the watch box itself. Now, I want to give due credit to Varon Chiri because usually at this price point, $420, one would expect a cardboard or plastic watch box, but this is solid rosewood, nice heft to it, and as you can see, high gloss lacquered finish to the rosewood. We've also got Varon Chiri and the brand emblem in gilt on the lid, stainless steel catch, and we've also got stainless steel hinges, so very high grade of watch box. And really this is a credit to the brand because this is a $420 piece. This is the kind of watch box one would expect with a high tier piece. I'll show you the interior. As you can see, the interior of the solid rosewood watch box is fully upholstered with a vinyl PVC to a high standard, and the watch sits in the base on a padded pillow cushion which is also PVC vinyl coated, upholstered to a very good finish, so immediately one gets the impression that the blazer is a high quality piece. With regards to the items, this is the warranty card, and I'm pleased to report the blazer is covered by a 2-year international warranty. Usually at this price point, $420, one would expect the watch to be covered by a 12-month international warranty, so to get 2 years of warranty is very impressive. Now, I understand at the time of this review, Varon Chiri were still producing the owner's instruction manuals, but the blazer will come with a comprehensive owner's instruction manual detailing the operation of the movement used, which is the Miyota caliber 9039 automatic. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Varon Chiri blazer ice mint version. We have a 38.5mm case diameter. We have a 44.8mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 10mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The oyster-style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the G-lock clasp, and as you can see, the G-lock clasp is signed to a high standard with the Varon Chiri emblem embossed. Flawless mirror polishing to the centre section, to the body of the clasp, which complements the flawless mirror polishing to the flanks. No sharp edges, the corners aren't sharp, and that complements the brushed satin finish to the outer sections of the body, which have a beautiful lustre to the brushed satin finishing to the solid 316L grade stainless steel. The interior is solid 316L grade stainless steel, milled clasp. As you can see, mirror polished top side, underside and flanks, no sharp edges, no burrs, no sharp corners. Now, as you can see, this is very similar to a Rolex glide lock clasp, and Varon Chiri call it the G-lock clasp, but it has a very similar mechanism. It deploys very well with a nice positive click, also slides up and down the interior very well, and it also snaps into position with a nice positive click. So this is a very well executed glide lock style clasp called the G-lock. It also snaps shut with a nice positive click, and the flip lock also snaps shut with a nice positive click, so this is a very well executed G-lock clasp. With regards to the rest of the specification, we have a flat sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished applied indices and the silver mirror polished Dolphin handset. The Dolphin hands are finished to a very high standard. The facets are mirror polished to a flawless finish, and the proportions of the hands are correct. Now, interesting dial layout, perfect symmetry to it, so the legibility is good, but it has a stepped chapter ring. We've actually got 2 chapter rings. The inner chapter ring has minute ticks, and if you look at the minute hand, which is a Dolphin hand, you can see the tip of the Dolphin hand extends all the way to the minute ticks, which are indexed in white. But the outer chapter ring, which is on a higher step, is for the second hand, and if you look closely at the needlepoint second hand, you can see it's long enough to extend to the second outer chapter ring. So the outer chapter ring is for the seconds, the inner chapter ring is for the minutes, and this is something I haven't seen on a watch before, a two-stepped chapter ring. So credit where credit's due, Varon Chiri have produced a completely original design. This isn't an homage to any other watch, and I like the originality of it. The applied indices have a lovely mirror polished 3D effect, and they complement the dolphin hands, which are mirror polished with two facets. The dial is very well laid out, good symmetry, beautiful sunburst finish to this ice mint version, and I like the fact the dial isn't over-branded with unnecessary text or specification. We have the applied Varon Chiri emblem in silver, and then Varon Chiri in white text, and then at 6 o'clock blazer and automatic, just the right amount of information, no unnecessary information such as the water resistance rating, which is 100 meters. So this is the perfect daily wear piece, which could potentially be worn as a dress piece due to it being 38.5 millimeters. With regards to the crown, it's coin edge finished, mirror polished domed cap and embossed to a high standard with the Varon Chiri emblem. So correctly proportioned. I like the fact that the crown isn't undersized. One can get a good grip of it with one's index finger and thumb. So let's test the screw down crown execution. The screw down crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters, which is good specification for a daily wear piece. Absolutely silky smooth. This is sublime screw down crown execution. Perfect interface between the internal thread of the screw down crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. So silky smooth, no friction to it whatsoever. The threads are machined to a very good standard. So in the first position, one can manually wind the Miyota caliber 9039 automatic to top it up to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. Absolute pleasure to manually wind the 9039. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. And the 9039 feels much smoother to wind than lower grades of Miyota movements such as the 8215. The 9039 is a premium Miyota movement, and one can feel the difference in quality. The mainspring tension builds up very smoothly. So pulling it out to the first click position is the final click position, because unlike the 9015, this doesn't have a date complication. There's no date wheel beneath the dial, so it only has one click, and I like the fact they haven't used the 9015 with a phantom date setting position. The 9039 is the no date version of the 9015. So first click position is the time setting position. Nice light resistance to the gearing, no friction. And one thing I like about the 9039 is there is no backplay clockwise and anti-clockwise. With lower grades of Miyota movement such as the 8215, there is some backplay. One has to rotate the crown more clockwise and anti-clockwise to take up the slack. But the 9039 is immediately responsive. When one rotates the crown clockwise and anti-clockwise, the dolphin minute hand immediately moves. So absolute pleasure to set the time, very smooth clockwise and anti-clockwise, and as you can see it has hacking. I have now hacked the needlepoint second hand, so one can set the time precisely to the second. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and the needlepoint second hand begins to sweep around the dial once again. So let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup, this is 10 out of 10 screw down crown execution. It is sublime, very smooth. Absolute pleasure to set the time, absolute pleasure to manually wind. They really cannot improve upon this coin edge crown. So I'll show you the case back. Very low profile, solid 316L grade stainless steel, concentric CNC lathe tool machining, nicely engraved around the circumference, and the centre section is engraved with the Varon Chiri emblem to a good standard. Now this is an incredibly low profile case back. Bear in mind it provides 100 meters of hermetic seal. As you can see, it's one of the flattest low profile case backs I have ever seen on a watch, and it's very impressive that it provides 100 meters of hermetic seal. This kind of thinness one would expect 50 meters and a pressed on case back, but this is a screw down case back. I like the large facets which are machined to it, and also we've got mirror polishing to the circumference, so this sits perfectly flat against the wrist, very comfortable to wear for long periods of time such as 8 to 12 hours per day. The female pivoted end links are a good tight fit to the head of the piece. And also I'm pleased to see two double-ended quick release spring bars. That means one doesn't need a spring bar tool in order to remove the bracelet if one wants to exchange it for a strap. So the female pivot end links are very well machined, and they contrast with the flawless mirror polishing to the underside to the head of the piece. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet, I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and I'm pleased to report it fits my 8-inch wrist with no difficulties whatsoever. This will actually fit up to an 8.5-inch wrist because I can easily slide my index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp, and that is with the G-lock clasp on full extension. So plenty of adjustment with the G-lock clasp, and also plenty of links, as you can see, so no problems if you have an 8.5-inch wrist. Now, as you can see, the proportions of this piece are very good, and I would say they are best suited to collectors with a smaller wrist because we have a 38.5mm head of the piece with a 44.8mm lug-to-lug measurement. Nice curved profile to the lugs and nice curved profile to the undercut of the case. So with the female pivoted end links, the end link in the bracelet articulates very well. It pulls snugly to the wrist. Now, Varon Chiri have made the correct decision because they could have used male end links which would have extended the effective lug-to-lug measurement, but by using female pivot end links you can see there is extra articulation, so the end of the bracelet pulls down close to the wrist, nice snug fit, a nice curved undercut to the case. So it does have a short lug-to-lug measurement. I regard 48 to be the sweet spot. At 44.8 it is significantly shorter than that. But if you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, you'll really appreciate the short lug-to-lug measurement and the compact case dimensions. They've made the correct decision with a 20mm lug width, perfect taper, 20 down to 16, which is the industry standard, and the 20mm lug width really works very well with a 38.5mm head of the piece. Clear AL coating does an excellent job of reducing the reflection and the glare from the dolphin hands and the applied indices. I love the way the sunburst dial changes colour. The ice mint has a beautiful green tone to it, and it's just absolutely gorgeous the way these silver mirror polished indices and the dolphin hands contrast with the ice mint dial. So just beautiful to look at. Very low profile flat sapphire crystal which has a slight lip which projects above the domed bezel, as you can see, and the domed bezel is mirror polished to flawless standard, and that complements the mirror polishing to the centre links. Very comfortable piece to wear because it's only 125 grams. At 38.5mm head of the piece, I would expect this to be circa 150. So 125 is very light and therefore it's very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. So feel good factor is excellent, good looking piece, very well balanced due to the 20 to 16 taper. One thing I really like about it is it's only 10mm thick. Now, I'll explain why it's only 10mm thick. As you can see, it has a very low profile flat sapphire crystal, and they've made the correct decision by using a flat sapphire crystal versus a double dome sapphire crystal, which would increase this to 11 or 12mm. It also has a very flat, low profile caseback, as I've shown you, even though it's 100 meters. Now, the reason why it's so thin, only 10mm, is because it uses the Miyota caliber 9039. So I'll explain the benefits of that. The 9039 is the no-date version of the 9015. Now, the architecture of both movements is the same. However, the 9039 doesn't have a date wheel, there's no date complication as per the 9015. There is one other difference. The 9039 has a lower cannon pinion and a lower hand stack height, so that means the hands can sit closer to the dial. They are lower on the cannon pinion, and that means that the sapphire crystal can also be closer to the cannon pinion and closer to the dial. So although we've got this stepped chaptering, the sapphire crystal is actually very close to the dial. We don't have a deep rehort or chaptering, and I like the fact the dolphin hands run very close to the applied indices and also the dial, rather than being very deep, as per in an H35A, for example. So the 9039 has a lower hand stack height than the 9015. The other benefit is it doesn't have a phantom date setting position on the crown, as I've detailed. So, with regards to the specifications of the 9039, it's been in use since 2018, so it's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement made in Japan. It has 24 joules, and it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. Now, if you look closely at the needlepoint secondhand, you can see the benefit of this being a 4 Hz movement. The needlepoint secondhand has a nice 4 Hz sweep, it's very smooth. With lower grade Miyota movements such as the 8215, they run at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. The negative of a 3 Hz movement such as the NH35A and the 8215 is the second-hand judders or stutters around the dial. 3 Hz sweep isn't as smooth, it ticks and stutters, but with a 4 Hz sweep it's far smoother, so you can see the second-hand sweeps around the dial very smoothly due to the 28,800 vibrations per hour and 4 Hz frequency. It has hand winding and hacking, which is used for complications, and a 42-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable. The stated accuracy of the caliber 9039 is -10 to +30 seconds per day, so a rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that Varon Chiri are well regulating the 9039s they're using in the Blazer. This one is running consistently at +3 seconds per day, which is actually within chronometer limits of -4 to +6. To get +3 from a 9039 is outstanding accuracy when it's fully wound to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. So no negatives to the movement whatsoever. There is one major benefit to the movement. With lower grade Miyota movements such as the 8215, they are very noisy. They have a noisy rotor. But this is a higher grade of Miyota movement. The 9039 is a premium Miyota movement, and therefore the rotor is very quiet. It's quieter than an NH35A, and it's even quieter than the 8215. So I really like that characteristic of the 9039. It has a nice quiet rotor, although it is unidirectional, so it's not as efficient as a bidirectional winding rotor. So the rotor has to spin anti-clockwise in order to wind the 9039. When it spins clockwise, it has negligible winding effect. So quiet, reliable, accurate, build quality is good, materials are good, and the accuracy and quality control are all outstanding. No negatives to it whatsoever. The correct choice due to the low cannon pinion hand stack height, and I like the fact it's very low profile. This is only 10mm thick. This is the kind of thickness one would expect with a quartz powered piece or a manual wind powered piece. With an automatic, one would usually expect it to be 12 or 13mm. If this was powered by the NH35A, I would expect it to be in excess of 12mm, but by using the 9039, Varon Chiri have got this down to only 10mm thick, but still retained 100 meters of water resistance. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So $420 is the Kickstarter campaign launch price. Yes, this is unquestionably excellent quality, and yes, this is unquestionably excellent value at $420. This Blazer is absolutely loaded with specification for $420. AR coating, 100 meters of water resistance, screw down crown, female pivoted end links, screw pins in the bracelet rather than push pins, and we've got the G-lock clasp, which works very well, just like a Rolex glide lock clasp. The adjustment is very good. It deploys with a nice positive click, slides up and down the body very well, and also clicks back into position with a nice positive click. To get a glide lock style clasp which is so well executed at this price point is very unusual, and really there are no cost cutting measures to this whatsoever, because they've used female pivoted end links which have good articulation, and we have screw pins rather than push pins. So everything about this is loaded specification. There is nothing about it I would change. The quality of the mirror polishing to the bezel, the mirror center links to the bracelet and also the clasp is outstanding. The brushed satin finishing to the flanks to the case has a beautiful luster. The case back is well finished. No sharp edges, no burrs. This really is an outstanding piece. So I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money, and I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Varon Chiri Blazer Ice Mint version. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.